plan you'd like to opt for, I'd almost like to think of it as almost a real estate-backed savings account that you're investing into, right? You're putting money into the home that you're renting. So part of your rent then goes towards owning more of the home every month because you're now partial owner of the home. So then you can, in addition to your rental payment, you can continue to add more ownership level towards the home by applying more of a payment each month. So let's say you apply $100 towards the property. That's just a fraction of a percent of the entire property, right? But that fraction of a percent goes towards owning more of the company every month when your rent comes due. You're paying yourself to buy more of the property. So it accelerates your ownership of the property. Right there.
So you seem to be a pretty big fan of like the Bay Area startup scene. So I'm just like curious, like as an investor and entrepreneur, like what do you think is special about the New York City startup scene?
Yeah, I've only been here about a year, and I've traveled most of the year I've been here, so I haven't really been here the whole time. So I'm still getting acclimated into the community here. I will say the access to the variety of industries here presents a really unique opportunity for companies. You know, one of the biggest problems in the Bay Area is the monoculture, is everything is tech. And here you have a variety of customers. So if you're trying to start a startup, you may get access to great mentorship, leadership, capital in the Bay Area, and technology experts. But you need adoption. And at the end of the day, that's what's here. That's what's in New York. And so you may not have the same, level playing field to build the big business, but you can get started here and get some amazing customers under your belt, and you can leverage. It's just a plane ride, right? So take advantage of what's both in your backyard, and then know that sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and go someplace unique to build something really big if that's what you want to do. And let me step two. I'll say this: you don't have to build a really big company to be successful. You could build something small and make more money than if you build something really big and sell it all off to the investors. So don't just take money and grow and expect you need to be this, Hollywood entrepreneur and one of these people on Instagram. I know people who make $5 million a year that you've never heard of, and they live great, and they don't have any investors. They don't even come to work that often, right? But they're happy. And so it just depends on what you want.
What is the question you ask startups when you're kind of debating on if this is something that somebody else could duplicate?
I think most of the time companies can be duplicated. You can patent everything under the sun, but it's about execution. Leadership, you have to patent, you have to protect, you have to build a wall, but you can't rely on the wall to hold off competitors completely. For every Burger King, there's a McDonald's, vice versa. Markets that are big enough sustain competition. It's about execution.
When you were answering the question about NDAs, you said, I think your words were tried and proven way. And so I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
I was referring to methodology for starting a company, not particularly to the NDA side. What I was saying was, if you're going to go about building a company by trying to require everybody to sign an NDA just to talk to you before you'll even pitch them to take their money, that's proving your own methodology for starting a company. Like I was saying, I'm an advocate of the lean startup methodology, which is go out and collaborate and build what you're trying to build and get some revenue going. Don't do it in a black box. Don't do it under the NDAs. If you're worried about protecting your idea, you're afraid you can't execute. That's how I look at it.
So building a startup, essentially, it's a team effort, right? And so if someone's essentially wanting to start a company, what would be a recommendation for recruitment and building the team essentially and finding the co-founder, right? Because oftentimes it's hard for a solo founder to sustain the grunt. So what would be your recommendation for finding a co-founder?
Yeah, this is a great question, and it's often the hardest part of starting a company with a team. Look, a team building is like, especially when you're co-founding a business, like a marriage. First of all, set expectations. Go into a partnership expecting it won't work out, and understand how the exit's going to look too. And understand that your partner, let's say, would you say you're the technical co-founder or the business co-founder?
I know, I'm just hypothetically asking a
Okay.
question. So I would be the non-technical founder if
Okay.
I were you.
So as a non-technical founder, you're searching for a technology person. There are websites like Co-Founders Lab and Co-Founder Dating and things like that. You can find people who are technical that are looking for ideas to build because they're not confident in themselves. But again, I'd go back to The Clean Coder by Bob Martin. Understand that there are programmers and there are professional programmers, and you need to work with professionals if you're a professional yourself. So just because somebody is willing to build your product doesn't mean they're your co-founder. Just because somebody builds the product doesn't mean they're your co-founder. Just because somebody builds the product, co-founds a company with you, doesn't mean that they know how to take a team of 1 and take it to a team of 50 if you're great at what you do and you start selling. So you have to set expectations early on. Hey, we're going to start this together. I may be replaced as CEO. You may be replaced as CTO. How does that happen? Here's how. We need to talk about this now. Set expectations. I don't want you to hate me 6 months from now if I go and sell $10 million worth of whatever we just built, that I need to bring in somebody who's handled $10 million of dev work when you've never done that. And maybe titles don't really matter. Maybe you keep the title, but the responsibility is going to move to this person. You've got to be able to work with somebody. And if you can't have that conversation, you're not going to get anywhere anyway. If they're freaking out, yelling, screaming, it's over before it begins. You got a question there?
Actually, you mentioned about being entrepreneur in terms of outlook. Obviously, it's your baby. You know, you put your whole heart and soul into it. Technically speaking, how many hours you think that
How many hours do I work on something? This is my life. Literally, I make it my life. I have a life partner, and she's very understanding of my lifestyle. But this is my life. I wake up and I go to sleep, and this is what I do. I build. So if you're not okay with that, if this isn't what you want to be your life, it's fine. There are jobs. You can be an employee. You can be a contractor. But if you want to build a company, it's going to be you because nobody else is going to do it for you.
That's funny you said that because my wife, she's always reminding me about how much I work and I work too much and I'm always, but I met her earlier on where I was still kind of getting going, so the expectation was set in the beginning that I actually broke up with her after the second week, right? And I was like, you know, I am working this and that, and I realized that I don't want to live life, you know, this way. And she understood, and we have a great relationship, and that's the thing, it's about expectations, right? Anybody have a question? You back there?
Yeah. So it's actually a good follow-up from the last question. But you probably heard the saying, last mile fog, as in like you get to a place where you've been dreaming about that since you were, since you started the company or since you were really young or something like that. And finally you get to that point and you're like, wait, okay, I'm here. I mean, so for instance, there's a lot of talk about passion. I mean, that also goes really well on Instagram posts. But there's people who go at it in a very practical way. I mean, I have a family friend who he was a serial entrepreneur, and he just sold 3 successive companies for huge buyouts, and now he has a beautiful cliffside house, plenty of time with the kids, but he just doesn't know what to do with himself. So I guess the question would be, how do you? I guess there's a little bit of psychology in what you do. So how do you kind of make sure that people don't, have that vision of that they're not going to just wake up one morning and what am I doing? Is that part of what you do?
Yeah, no, it's great. So we go through phases in life, and when we're focused on the grind, like you would be building something, you focus all your energy, it becomes your life. And then after, and I've been through this, you exit, and then who are you? The business was you. And now what do you do? And I think that will take people on a personal journey where they will figure that out. Most of the time it's about impact for most people. If you achieve some level of success, you want to have a legacy beyond just, hey, I made money, who cares? Once you do it, you're kind of like, okay, I bought things, now what? Because the watch will break, the car will break, the house, and also people will make a lot of money and then they won't, right? You can make $1 million and then make 0 the next year, the next 5 years, it doesn't last forever. So it's also about what are you doing next to sustain who you want to be perceived as? And everyone's going to make mistakes. Nobody's going to be perfect. So how do we take some of the skills we learn as entrepreneurs and apply them to more than just making money? Because you can make money a lot of ways, but how do you do it in a way that's sustainable? How do you do it in a way that creates jobs, creates impact in communities? And how do you then have something that you could look at yourself after that journey and say, I'm not really that bored. I really did do something that I'm still a part of, and I can go down and see a movie theater or a gazebo or a city building construct, something that wouldn't have been there if I didn't do this. And I think that's what motivates me, at least.
Any more questions? Right.
I want to hear if you had any tips on like hiring, whether it's like sourcing people, vetting them, use like the A methods, something like that.
Hire slow, fire fast, all the time. People is the hardest part of a business. It's the single hardest thing. Everything comes down to your people. Getting the best, retaining the best, it's so hard. I would say, as you know, a startup founder, set expectations. Long hours, crappy pay, lots of risk, lots of reward. You're gonna learn a lot. You know, it's not the same when the company's 5 people, when it's 50, very different, right? And you need people that can grow with you. So I also like to start people on contracts if I can, and don't hire them as a consultant to do the work. Hire them as a consultant to teach me to do the work. Because I found that if people can teach, they can do usually, and that is another aspect too, which is if I don't know what the work entails, how do I even know what qualities to look for to hire somebody? So that's part of the hiring slow, right? I don't want to hire somebody to come in and do my marketing because I don't know if it's going to work. I need to hire somebody to teach me about how they've done marketing, how it applies to my business, and then formalize with them a strategy that makes sense for my company. And if it's a good fit and we both respect each other, they'd be a great person to help with the marketing.
One last question?
Yeah, you said previously that the success of the startup hinges more on the execution of your idea than the actual idea itself. And my question is, how would having like a low quality idea like allow you to rise above the competition of like everybody else in your market? There was this book out there called From Zero to One.
Peter Thiel,
yeah. And he painted like a really good microcosm of like what I'm trying to say. He was talking about Indian restaurants in Palo Alto, and basically, I think you already know what I'm talking about. He said you can have like you know, a small Indian restaurant like on the streets of Palo Alto, and you can say that you make the best curry ever, right? And like you're not really going to grow because like across the street from you, there's also another Indian restaurant that makes like the best samosas ever, right? So you can have like the best execution in that case, like you can make the best curry in the world, but like you're not really going to defeat your competition. So with that said, how much, like when you're making a new startup, how much should you focus on getting like an actual high quality idea over like creating a team that can execute your idea well?
Okay, so I'm going to unpack that down to execution, right? So just because you're the best product in the world doesn't mean anybody's buying it, right? You have to out-execute your competition. You can have a mediocre product and still out-execute them with marketing, things of that nature. So let's say you do have the best curry in the world, and yet next door they have the best mimosa, whatever. And you're basically unable to execute on getting the best of that product in the world at scale because you're not focusing on that. Could you put it in as a frozen foods, a store type packaged meal? Could you take the fast casual approach, which Chipotle has pioneered in so many ways, right? And take that Indian food with the best curry in the world and execute. But no, you took a traditional sit-down restaurant with lots of people and a lot of different products, and you put it in an expensive city with expensive real estate, and you focused instead on a product that is difficult to serve, difficult to maintain, and you didn't execute right. You focused on a small lifestyle business. That may be what you wanted. Your execution could have been completely engineered around, I just want one location. I have a friend, all he does is invest in restaurants that he thinks will fail. Okay? It sounds completely crazy. He says, I'm going to lose my money in 3 to 5 years. He does it to be an owner in a restaurant in a city with an owner of the restaurant that he likes so that he can bring business partners to that restaurant in that community and say he's an owner of a business in that community and get free meals, and everyone will like being there with him. And he does bigger deals at the restaurants that he loses money in because now he's a part owner of a community establishment and all the other community leaders like him, and they'll do business and they'll send him special deals. He's figured out his strategy. He's executing. It's a loss leader for his other business interests. So maybe the best curry in the world is just set up to bring Peter Thiel in the door. And when Peter's there, maybe he cuts a $3 million check because it has the best curry in the world, because that is prime real estate and it has some of the best people there. So it's all about execution. It's all about strategy. You can take a mediocre product. I mean, look at Chipotle's queso cheese or whatever, right? Like, everybody basically hates it from what I can tell. And it's still selling. People buy it. They didn't drop it. They just have execution down pat.
All right. Lane Campbell, everyone. Thank you.